Shabbat Shalom, everyone. Good Shabbos. Our Torah portion actually is in the heart of the Torah, in the very center of the Torah. Often it's a double portion, Acharei Mot, Kedoshim. So if it is in such a prominent place, you have to assume that the message is key to Judaism and key to our hearts. And so it is. Actually, Acharei Mot means after the death of, and again it refers to the death of the sons of Aaron, Nadab and Abihu, who die suddenly, mysteriously. They're offering a sacrifice, and evidently something goes terribly wrong. And instead of the fire consuming the sacrifice, the fire consumes them. And there are many, many explanations. But one might just be that sometimes bad things happen and there's no explanation. But the very next Torah portion for next week is Kedoshim, and that's holiness. It's the holiness code. And there we find some of the most lofty messages of Judaism, actually values we're still trying to catch up with. So the message could be that after the death of, after the challenge, after the setback, after the disappointment, after the loss, what happens then? And what can happen if we hang in there long enough is that we can attain holiness, that we can become indeed stronger. I'm thinking of all of this because as I'm recording this, it is Yom HaShoah. It is the day of Holocaust remembrance. As we try to remember 6 million lives, 1.5 million children. Therefore, this morning I was invited to be part of a prayer breakfast. Today also happens to be the National Day of Prayer. And I was invited to the First Baptist Church in Haddonfield because they wanted to incorporate a segment on Holocaust remembrance. And of course, you know that's very, very dear to my heart. What's so interesting is at the First Baptist Church in Haddonfield, it probably was one of the first times a commemoration like this took place. And as the pastor pointed out, this church is over 200 years old. He believes I was the first rabbi ever to be inside of this church. And of all the lessons and messages I could have given, I decided to tell the story of Helen Reeder, Renee Siegel's mother, who died about a year ago at the age of 88. And her story is so miraculous, and it speaks about after the Holocaust, where do you go from there? And she went on to rebuild her life and to be positive and always have a smile. And people would ask her, Helen, whose Hebrew name was Chaya, which means life, how come you're always smiling? You endured so much, 5 concentration camps, and you can still smile? And she said, I choose to remember the kindnesses extended to me and not dwell on the horrors that also occurred to me and all around me. What I find very, very meaningful is that her father, Moshe, like the original Moshe, implanted within her one verse, one command, one sentence, something to strive for. And when he saw her in Auschwitz, and she didn't even know that any members of her family were still alive, and somebody said, Chaya, your father is here. He's in this camp. And one day they met, and across the fence, he was pushing a wheelbarrow. He was 40 years old. He looked like 80. She was 16. And he said, Chaya, someone from our family has to survive, has to live, to tell what happened here. And that was her mandate. To stay alive, to tell the story, to be liberated, eventually living in LA, where she wanted to tell this story, but at that point in time, nobody wanted to hear Holocaust stories. Nobody wanted to see the number on her arm. But in time, that came around too, and she became a teacher. So why do we observe Yom HaShoah? It's not just to dwell on the past. What lessons can we learn to help us? And the message is that we are surrounded so often by hate and mistrust and discrimination and targeting one group over another. And it's not being true to the values of Torah and Kedoshim that asks us to reach for the highest in ourselves. So Yom HaShoah comes just in time to remind us of love and acceptance and accepting others and being true to being made in God's image. This Shabbat, first of all, we have a fourth grade honoring. And there's a fourth grade dinner at 6:15. And then all of us are going to congregate in the lobby area, the rotunda area, for some songs and Shabbat blessings. And then we will enter the sanctuary or the chapel, depending on whether you're coming to the family service or the alternative service. Our family service is called a virtual and visual tefillah. And it's interactive, and there's a lot of music, and our fourth graders are participating, and we're all participating. It's going to be a wonderful service, and we hope to see you. Also, just a reminder, Mother's Day is Sunday, so really show appreciation to Mom, to Grandmom, for all they do, to thank them. Once again, I'm going to be giving the invocation for Raised for the Cure. You want to come down and walk with us and support breast cancer, that would be great as well. Shabbat Shalom. See you soon. All good things.